Altos is brought to you by the kind compliments of
Rituals Coffee House.
Good evening and welcome to Altos, a weekly news and current affairs program produced by the Catholic News and broadcast on Trinity TV and TTT. I'm Roger Sands, sitting in for Neil Parsonlal this week. And happy Feast of St. Valentine. In our top stories, fears for the safety of infant children among the concerns being raised by parents at the St. Dominic's RC School in Penal. We'll tell you what the Catholic Education Board is saying. Vicar of the Southern Vicariate, Father David Kahn, wants the Catholic faithful to see the church as their hospital for physical, mental, and spiritual healing in this Jubilee year. Parents of First Communion children encouraged to ensure they attend Mass and not become part of the gas station mentality which has impacted church attendance. And later, we speak with Pastor Clive Dottin, a former member of the Police Service Commission, about crime, criminality, and the police service. Our top story, tension was high this week as parents of infant children attending the St. Dominic's RC Primary School in Penal on Monday had a protest over the lack of security and conditions at the parish hall, which they say is unfit and unsafe for their children. Laura Pickford-Gordon has more.
It has been 8 years since the pupils of St. Dominic RC School Penal have been occupying the parish hall and community center where the standards 1 to 5 classes are held. The relocation became necessary after the school was condemned as unsafe by the Works Ministry in 2016. Head of the Parent-Teacher Conference, Sharon Batiste, said the parents want an intervention.
We have been asking and pleading for the government to assist us in somehow. We are asking for a new building for our children. Our school numbers are getting smaller and smaller as the years go by. There's children's safety is first priority to the parents, and they are saying enough is enough. They're not going to send their children out to school until they see some issues, some things take place.
Batiste said they are also concerned that with no security guard, anyone can walk into the school at any time, putting the children at risk. There are insufficient toilets and inconvenience with children occupying 2 sites. They are also concerned that there is no air conditioning, making it uncomfortable for the children and teachers. In addition, she said there is no play area.
They are young ones. They tend to want to have a little playtime, especially during break time and lunchtime. But it is not allowed for them to have a playtime because it is the church car park.
Addressing the concern about the AC, Father Peter Adoaka said when he became parish priest last year, he realized the church could not afford it because of the hefty bill. He told Altos letters were sent to the Ministry of Education via the Catholic Education Board of Management since 2023.
I spoke to the principal and I said to her, see what we can do about it so that if it means paying part of the bill so that we cannot continue to pay that bill all by ourselves.
In a statement, the Catholic Education Board of Management said a request for security guard is being processed and the ministry is arranging a procedure for payment of the electricity bills while the school occupies the parish hall. A decision was taken on Wednesday evening to turn back on the air conditioning units. The CEPM is also awaiting information from the ministry on the timeline for reconstruction of a new school.
Look to the church as your hospital for healing. That's the message from Vicar of the Southern Vicariate, Father David Kahn, as the Pro-Cathedral of Our Lady of Perpetual Help in San Fernando dedicates the month of February to health and healing. This coincides with the celebration of the Feast of Our Lady of Lourdes and World Day of Health. Altos correspondent Clysha Best spoke with Father Kahn and has more in this report.
The Our Lady of Perpetual Help Roman Catholic Church, OLPH, is located on the San Fernando Promenade in close proximity to the San Fernando General Hospital and many private health institutions. And parish priest and vicar of the Southern Vicariate, Father David Kahn, told Altos this played a major part in the decision to focus on healing. His vision is for people to look at the church as their hospital.
So the church is our hospital, especially in this month. It is always our hospital, but in this month, we are primarily focusing on the physical, mental, and spiritual.
Father Khan explained that each Saturday in February is dedicated to various healthcare providers.
For the first Saturday, we focus on all caregivers. On the second Saturday, we focus on nurses. The third Saturday is for doctors. And the fourth Saturday in February is for all who care for the sick.
In addition, he said each week focused on a different theme. The first week was healing of families, the second was healing of the church, the third healing of the community, and the fourth week, the healing of the world. Father Khan commended his fellow priests, Fathers Bernier, Jason Grell, and hygienists for their support in catering for the people of the Archdiocese. He issued this appeal to the faithful.
What we have called the people of the Archdiocese to do, that every Thursday that they make it a social outreach day, that they are to visit those who are sick, those who are suffering, wherever you find them, because the end result is building a synodal church. A synodal church is participation, communion, and mission. So the mission part is every Thursday. Every Catholic is called to do some social work in visiting those who are sick and suffering.
I am Clysha Best, reporting for Catholic News Altos.
Vicar General Father Martin Sergiu has issued a challenge to parents of First Communion boys from the Bethlehem Roman Catholic Boys RC School to ensure that they attend the church at least once a month. Father Sergiu said at the recent retreat of the clergy in Mayaru, concerns were raised by a priest about what he referred to as gas station Catholics who only attend church on sacramental occasions.
Well, the first stop the parents make is at baptism. And then we don't see the parents after the first stop, and we don't see the children until the second stop. What is the second stop? First Communion.
Father Martin Sergiu, Vicar General, delivered the homily on Sunday, February 9th to our congregation, which included 10 students of the Bethlehem RC School who received the First Holy Communion. He told them the concern about the gas station mentality of Catholics continues after First Communion, when the next time they see the children, it's when they come to the church for confirmation, and then years later, in some cases, when they are ready to get married.
Except that most of them ain't get married at all right? They're living together, they're getting married outside the church and things like that. So they hardly come for even the sacrament of marriage.
And then he said the final stop at the Catholic gas station is when they die and someone else has to bring them. But he urged the parents of these boys to ensure that they are different.
I want to suggest that at least once per month you bring them here to Mass. If you don't do that, things will fall apart.
Father Sergiu reminded the boys and their parents that receiving the body and blood of Jesus is not magic, but just a part of what needs to be done.
And so it needs parental guidance, it needs their coming to church, and it needs their taking their homework seriously. First Communion builds on what you as parents are already providing. And so once you provide and do your part, and they do their part, we will see them flourish before our eyes.
Catholic communicators from across the Archdiocese gathered at Mount St. Benedict for a special retreat hosted by Catholic Media Services last Saturday. Led by Vicar for Communications, Father Robert Christo, the retreat focused on strengthening faith, refining communication skills, and embracing mission. Participants engaged in interactive exercises, scriptural reflections, and discussions on the evolving role of media in ministry. Altos reporter Andre Burton tells us more.
Damian, tell them. Damian, don't get born again. Can you give them a round of applause from Step 2? Damian Harris was one of 25 retreat participants who took part in retreat activities and had the opportunity to share his over a decade of experience in the communications ministry.
Next, you also have to be futuristic. So one of the things we did very early is that we had a strat plan where we saw the ministry going and obviously how to hand it over to the next generation.
This participant, though not involved in her parish media ministry as yet, explained why she attended the retreat.
For some time, I have been interested in adding value to our parish. I didn't know how. My specialty is in marketing and communications. So this session today is actually helping me bridge some gaps.
Others told Altos why they got involved in communications ministry and what they were taking away from the retreat.
I went from folding the newsletter to actually being behind it, and me and my brother, we I guess the co-editors of the newsletter now.
I love writing and I love speaking, so this is how I'm giving back to my community. And in learning the three, what Father Christo taught us, the three pathways to holiness, definitely I could see mission being one of them, and this is my mission for now until God guides me further.
Cummings later told us about the newly formed ministry on evangelization in her parish.
We are building the ministry, but it's also a group where Catholics support each other. And I came here because I felt the tools that I would learn here, I can go back to the ministry and contribute, what I've learned and help to grow it further.
Before the day's activities ended with Holy Mass, participants engaged in an exciting treasure hunt activity. I am Andre Burton reporting for Catholic News, Altos.
Looks like they had fun. Well, over in Jamaica, 4 newly ordained priests have been told to practice what they preach and to let what they teach be nourishment for the people of God. Catholic News editor Raymond Sims has more.
On Sunday, February 2nd, 4 young men, Ethelbert Jude Akaga, Julius Mutebe, Bartolomej Kleksinski, and Chrysantas Chidi Nauko, were ordained to the priesthood at the Most Holy Trinity Cathedral in Kingston, Jamaica. Delivering the homily, Archbishop Kenneth Richards of Kingston told them they now have a sacred duty to do God's work not for themselves, but for the people they serve.
See that you believe what you read, that you teach what you believe, and that you practice what you teach. This is fundamental, indispensable to your life. It's not about you, it's what you represent, it's what you become. You become Christ for his people.
Archbishop Richards cautioned that their lives must be living examples to build God's church.
Remember, if you don't practice what you preach, you create an odor, a bad odor. As the instruction says, be a delightful fragrance. Let your life be consistent with what you believe, what you preach, and what you teach.
They were then called upon to make several promises, including,
do you resolve, with the help of the Holy Spirit, to discharge without fail the office of the priesthood in the presbyteral rank as worthy fellow workers with the order of bishops in caring for the Lord's flock?
The newly ordained priests also pledged to respect and obey the Archbishop and his successors. The ordination ended with a cultural song and dance. I am Raymond Sims, reporting for Catholic News, Altos.
And further afield, thousands gathered in Rome for the Jubilee of the Armed Forces, police and security personnel, marking the second major event of the Holy Year. We have more in this report.
More than 30,000 people flocked to Rome over the weekend for the second major event of the Holy Year, the Jubilee of the Armed Forces, police and security personnel. The event was dedicated to recognizing their service of bringing hope to people across the globe. Among the speakers, Lieutenant Colonel Osrin Lukenda of the Croatian Navy explained how this Jubilee Year of Hope ties into the noble peacekeeping efforts of military operations.
The conduct of peacekeeping military operation has a noble cause, and it brings hope to all those affected by atrocities, because their wish is peace and nothing but the peace.
Due to breathing difficulties, Pope Francis, who has been battling bronchitis for a long time, asked his Master of Ceremonies, Archbishop Diego Ravelli, to continue reading his homily for him. In it, the Pope praised the vigilance of armed forces, police and security personnel amid the opposing forces of evil, and noted that their protection of the defenseless and upholding of the law can serve as a lesson for all.
Ci insegna che il bene può vincere, nonostante tutto.
They teach us that goodness can prevail over everything. They teach us that justice, fairness, and civic responsibility remain as necessary nowadays as ever.
Nonostante le forze contrarie del male.
After also thanking the chaplains who provide moral and spiritual support to military and security personnel, the Holy Father encouraged all present to never lose sight of the purpose of their service, to promote life, to save lives, and to be a constant defender of life. In Rome, Benedictia de Grian, EWTN, News Nightly.
And on Friday, Pope Francis was hospitalized for bronchitis. We wish him a speedy recovery. When we come back, we chat with Pastor Clive Doughton on the unfolding situation within the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Altos. Well, our guest this evening is Pastor Clive Doughton, Seventh-day Adventist pastor, former independent senator, and a former member of the Police Service Commission, and someone who over the years has been very outspoken about getting things right in this country. Pastor Doughton, welcome to Altos. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Have seen a lot happening in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in 2025 with mid-February, and we've had a sitting police commissioner detained, released, not charged, a new commissioner appointed, and the Police Service Commission in the middle of all of this, and a lot of the senior officers also in the middle of what has happened in this year. What are your initial thoughts on these developments?
Well, I want to piggyback on what you just said, because, Roger, what is taking place is that I now see the new acting commissioner praising Ulla Christopher and promising to build a foundation. The only thing that he didn't say is that she was a relative of Mother Mary, because he praised her to the highest. And that tells me there may be a rethink in terms of the speed at which you allowed a junior officer to arrest a senior officer. Personally, I feel the Police Service Commission jumped the gun, because apparently the DPP has found no compelling evidence to charge her. And I observe a commentator on the Express stating that to have, you know, police officials going back to the DPP 4 times within a specified limited period of time tells something. And all of this is not building confidence in this service at a time when, in spite of the fact that we have a state of emergency, we have 3 people killed yesterday. And I have said before, and I'm going to say it frankly again, that in terms of murders, you have to evaluate murders multiplied by 2 when you have a state of emergency here, because it means the criminal element has no respect for your state of emergency.
Looking at what had happened in the service, do you think, I mean, people are saying there might have been some kind of uprising or coup within the police service itself for something like this to have happened? And as you said, they've gone to the DPP 4 times, still no charges laid.
Premature. That was a palace coup. I am certain of that. And then not only has the PSC moved with alacrity, but the PCA in the charging of a top-ranking officer, all right, the allegations made by a junior officer, a sergeant, by the way, very quickly she has been absolved.
Right.
And this same officer was involved in the Brent Thomas Barbados affair, all right, another premature action again. So I am saying that we, in a crisis, I have made a statement, and that statement is that Trinidad and Tobago is moving swiftly on the road to Haiti. when I look at what I know about the extortion racket, I have adopted a child, and that child comes from gangland territory, just about 1 year old. And what I see is that a relative is involved in the extortion racket, not yet 20 years old, getting tens of thousands of dollars. And the extortion racket is moving with speed in this country. And a lot of young people have been recruited. Permit me to say that part of our problem is that we have allowed the gang leaders to show us what to do in terms of recruiting young people in criminal activity, in gangs, in drug dealing. We have allowed that to happen, and we have shown a very snail's pace when it comes to the issue of recruiting young people for positive, proactive activity.
Getting back to the Commissioner of Police, is it a case where we have 2 commissioners of police now, the incumbent being Erla Christopher and now the acting Commissioner of Police, because she hasn't been charged?
No, we have 2 commissioners. You're quite right. She has not been fired from the office. I think there's a lot of shame in terms of what has taken place now. And Mr. Benjamin has decided, well, he will go ahead and praise her because history reveals that today's villain becomes tomorrow's hero. And that may very well be the case in this situation.
And what message do you think this sends to the rest of the region and maybe the world, and even within, in terms of the protective services of Trinidad? Because the police is just one, but we have Defense Force, Coast Guard, etc. What message is this sending? Because it's basically those units, those services, they're close-knit and they're closed to the general public.
Well, the message we are sending to the gang leaders are, you are winning the battle, all right, and we are losing the battle. That is the message. I went to a police station to rescue a girl from a drug lord, and one young police officer lectured me on the bankruptcy of pastors when it comes to mediation skills. So I was supposed to tell her to stay with a drug lord who was guarded by a police and a soldier and who were in the police station too. That's the closeness of the criminal element to some of our protective services. And I am saying a very serious thing. Nobody told me this. I went to rescue the girl. And then there was a roadblock when I was passing back in front of the station, and they profiled my driver and told us go in the station. So I was literally punished when I tried to rescue that girl, and I rescued her successfully from a drug lord who beat her with a cutlass while she was pregnant.
So a very interesting experience there, Pastor Dottin. You talked about us necessarily possibly losing the battle, at least that's the criminal element may think that.
Yes.
Are we losing the battle as a country? A lot of churches, NGOs, schools, etc. have been doing great work over the years to try and arrest this crime situation, but it seems that we're not making the kind of progress and headway based on the efforts.
Yes, my church, Serval, Living Waters, all these are amazing groups. But the truth be told, when it comes to the issue of gangs and criminality, we are actually losing the battle. And we think now that we will continue to lose the battle. I talked to several citizens on the street who are not just Seventh-day Adventists, but belong to all fraternities, all religious communities. And they think that, some even said it's time for America to take over the country. That is where people's mind, to prevent us from becoming like Haiti. And we need to have the courage. You know, the Emmanuel community had 2 major projects that I was involved in that was of an interfaith nature. And I think the time has come for us. I want to suggest proactively that we could come together, that is all the churches along with the groups like Living Waters and Emmanuel community, to really adopt young people, to launch a national adoption program where it doesn't matter if you disagree with me theologically, but we all agree that we have to save the community and do better at adopting youth and putting them in positive programs.
Very interesting suggestion, and I'm sure there might be a lot of traction for that to happen.
Well, I hope so.
Yes, and hopefully some of that can happen. There was a very unsettling situation. All murder is terrible and unsettling, but I know it would have hit home for your particular church when the prosecutor, Randall Hector, was murdered I think, early as night in
outside Stanmore Avenue,
yes,
my church.
Exactly.
Right out there. And he was the one who conducted the last part, because he was a lay leader, what we call in the Adventist community, an elder.
Right.
And he had just spoken about protection, if you please. He was hugging his son. And the doctors, and he was shot while he was hugging his son. And up to now, not one government or cabinet minister has made any comment on that killing. A special prosecutor. 3 judges told a friend of mine, that guy was decent and honest. He was prepared to die. You know, the Lutheran pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer stated, when God calls you, he bids you come and die. That guy was a sacrifice, and it must not be in vain. And he knew that he was facing a life, he was engaged in a life-threatening process by pursuing the gang leaders. And he offered willingly. He saw that as his role, as his divinely appointed role, even before he was born. That is how Randall Hector thought.
Well, Pastor Dutton, a lot to talk about. We've run out of time. Thank you very much for your opinions and your forthrightness, and we will certainly look forward to having you again on the show to discuss some more about this ongoing situation of crime and criminality in Trinidad and Tobago. We'll be right back after this break.
In this week's issue of the Catholic News, digital team lead at Catholic Media Services Limited, Renee Smith, writes of her experience in Rome for the Jubilee of the World of Communications. Feature writer Kaylan Jordan chats with young journalist Ryan Bacher about his new book, An Unending Search. And what is a plenary indulgence? Vicar for Communications, Father Robert Christo, and Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon both explain. Here are the priests celebrating an anniversary this week, and the common events. I am Raymond Sims, editor of the Catholic News.
Welcome back. Well, the young men of the San Fernando Boys Roman Catholic School continue to bask in the glory of their national primary school's panorama title. Playing Shadows Dingley, the boys beat last year's winner, St. Margaret's Boys AC, to cop the coveted title just about 2 weeks ago. Altos videographer Barry Sedeno spoke to the young men, and we have more.
When we were about to play, I was getting a little bit nervous. It was very nervous for me. We've been practicing since the July-August vacation.
Sometimes we used to have fun all day. That's what we used to play in skiffle almost every day. It was very challenging for most boys, as you know, the countless hours of journey we had to do. We had to continue to be successful, putting hard to get good results.
I had so much fun playing the pan. I liked everything.
It was a good experience for me. We had a lot of fun.
It had motion, we had to stretch, and I like how it sounded. So the energy.
I was very happy that I get to do it because this is my last year.
Oh, I started at 5 and I'm coming out now. I find it's a good way to come out of school.
All of them must have drilled us enough to get the pops at the correct pace.
It was a little bit harder.
We started to get a little better, but then we realized the importance and discipline of fun.
Proud and
more excited. Proud of my team, putting me happy.
I felt proud of myself.
I felt proud.
I feel very happy and proud.
Great.
I feel very accomplished. I would achieve this without a worrying Japanese teacher.
But I feel very happy of the whole team. This was our team, right? I felt like we were going to win.
Nothing like winning a national title. Well, that's a wrap on our show this week. We continue to urge you to pray for Trinidad and Tobago, read your Bible, and learn your faith. We leave you now with some scenes at the Panyard Lime at the St. Francis of Assisi Roman Catholic Church compound in Belmont on Friday, February 7th, and we wish you a good week ahead.
Altos was brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.